So welcome to this Vajrasattva weekend. I don't know, maybe Tal wants to say a few things for people. Buddhism is all about transforming our own mind. It's not transforming the mind of others. And this is what many people, you know, we think we can create a society where there's justice, where there's no, you know, no climate change, there's nobody suffering and all this. It's impossible. As long as we haven't understood reality as it is, as long as we haven't understood that the way we think and the way we perceive things is always in a dualistic way, like me here and others out there, that we make this split between subject and object and not seeing that the way I see the object is totally depending on my mind, we will suffer. Oh, now you have to move. So what I have been asked by the Shantideva study group was to do actually 2 full weekends on what is called tantric practices. So the tantric practices you do once you have understood what is called the 3 principal aspects of the path. So I brought, and I will read it, I brought a very, very concise kind of version of that whole path so that you understand when you would start doing these practices. Now, if you don't know these 3 principal aspects of the path, you don't have to go home, it's okay, but so that we really understand why this is being done. Purification practices is being done because we want to purify our mind, not so that nobody harms me anymore. The other way around, so that I stop harming others, so that I start to see how I project, so that I start to maybe then more, at least intellectually, really understand what emptiness is all about. And the whole point of the whole of Buddhist practice, which has many, many, many different faces. Yeah, like we are practicing Tibetan Buddhism, more or less, you know, I mean, it's also not exactly the way it is in Tibet, which is fine, because many of these things are just culture. And then it's very difficult to, from the beginning, to make a distinction between what is Buddhism and what is culture. So at the beginning we adopt, you know, brocades, lots of colors, nice things on the altar, yeah. Like some people think chocolate is not appropriate because it's not healthy. Well, how can you offer something unhealthy to the Buddha? This is just our dualistic view, yeah. What you offer on the altar is something that you like. Not what is healthy, not what is good. I remember Cheroklama when he was very small, and he loved Coca-Cola. So he would put a bottle of Coca-Cola on the altar. And the Western people were shocked, you know. How can you put... He's a Rinpoche. I mean, he was like 7 years old or something. He wanted to make an offering to the Buddha. He offered something that he would have drank, but he offered it because why? Because he likes Coca-Cola and he doesn't get it every day. So he offered it. So this is the sense of offering. Is it pleases the mind, yeah. When you see something like that, it can also start to bring up your attachment. So again, it depends. Why are you making offerings? Are you making offerings because then at the end you take the whole thing home, which usually we do. We distribute it, or people can take, or do you really want to make offerings to the Buddha? Do we know what the Buddha is? Do we understand that if we make offerings, if our mind is sure that this is an altar for the Buddha, and these offerings go to the Buddha does receive the offerings, because everything is depending on the mind, and the Buddha's mind is everywhere. Do we understand that when we make the altar? Or do we just want to make it nice and pleasing, so when people come in and say, oh, very nice? Yeah. So again, you know, it's a constant, in the present, checking what's going on in my mind. Because nothing is, from its own side, good or virtuous or non-virtuous. It very much depends on your motivation. So these tantric practices that we do, especially Vajrasattva, because Vajrasattva is a purification practice, because he's the Buddha who said, I will help beings purify their negative karma if they do it with a good understanding of what is called the 3 principal aspects of the path, and especially with this mind. I'm doing purification practices because I want to develop a good heart, and the wisdom to see reality as it is. Why do I want to develop a good heart? Because I want to be of benefit to others. Why do I want to be of benefit to others? Not because I'm such a noble person, look at me, how good I am, and because I owe it to them. And this comes as a big shock. That we are dependent on so many beings just for survival, that they do their job. And we don't think about them. How many of you have thought about the beings or the people, especially beings also when it's leather shoes, when you put on your shoes this morning that, kind of in the thought, these are not my shoes. I mean, I didn't do anything to create these shoes. How many of you have had that thought and then a feeling of, wow, thank you so much? Nobody. Yeah? We buy it, it's my shoes. There if you take them. Yeah? We are like this. So again, don't feel bad. Sometimes it's dangerous to speak like this to Westerners because our self-esteem is already very, very low. And we already think that we're only bad and we have nothing good. So I don't know if it's helpful. This is another thing with the Tibetan culture. The Tibetans or Asian people who practice Buddhism, they don't have to build up their ego in order to dismantle it afterwards. Yeah, they don't have such big egos as us. So this is why also in the monasteries, an umze or a disciplinarian, the master, the gegu, he can take his mala, and if a little monk is sleeping, and he can kind of bang it on his head because they have much better, they're not taking it personally. If we would do that, he would be put into prison for abusing children. I mean, many of the Tibetans, the way that the little monks are kind of treated in the monasteries, you're shocked. But the monks don't suffer from that because they're much more robust than us, because they don't have this ego, oh, he doesn't like me. Yeah. Yeah, this is why. So if you take the teachings kind of without softening them a little bit and without adapting them to Western minds or Western attitudes, Western whatever we have, then you can totally crash. You become even more neurotic than you were before. Your ego explodes even more, either with low self-esteem, because you look at karma, you start to understand how much negative karma we create every day by having wrong views and being very selfish and all these kinds of things. So then your ego totally blows up and you go like, wow, I was so bad. Or you start practicing, you feel very good about yourself and you start to be a bit more kind and and then your ego again explodes and you become very proud and arrogant and you look at others, especially in the Dharma groups, if you are somebody who is doing a lot of stuff and helping a lot, try not to look at others who don't do anything. Because otherwise, it's this arrogance, look at me, I'm doing all this, then you start to feel the victim. Yeah, I just phoned to Switzerland yesterday, and we have a guest teacher also, and I asked the person who is usually there's two doing everything, it's me and her. So now I'm here, so I'm not there. So I said, you have enough help? And she said, like, pfft. So I said, okay, but then we need to do something about this, unless, if you feel like the victim. Unless you don't mind. If you don't mind, it's okay. Like when I'm there, I don't mind to do the cooking and the cleaning and the teaching and this and that. I really don't mind. I like to cook, so it's fine. I can turn myself into a victim because kind of I'm the teacher. I shouldn't be cooking for other people. But I don't see why I should, because I like to do it. But the moment you feel like you start to compare with others, you become very unhappy. And then you're not happy so much about what you're doing. So this is what we need to change with Western and Eastern kind of behavior. So for Easterners it's okay, always looking on the negative side. You do this, you're selfish, la la la, this and that. For them, it's okay. They grow with this. For us, it destroys us. So we need to, when we start doing practices, instead of doing it out of guilt or fear that, oh, if I have a commitment and if I don't do it, I go to hell and all this. The whole joy in practicing disappears. You see, Buddhist practice is to make you more joyful. It's not to make you more heavy and more guilty and more angry and this and that. Otherwise, it just goes totally in the wrong direction. Yeah. So I think what Westerners have to learn before they sit down to do their practices, when they look at the motivation, to really think about the good things that come out of the practice. You know, to start to be happy that, yeah, if I'm doing this, I have less suffering in the future, I'll be more open, I can understand the teachings better, I'm able to understand emptiness in a better way. That's why I'm practicing. To think about the results. You see, usually we always think about results. I don't know why in the practice we don't dare to go there. We don't dare to think, we don't dare to be happy about what the future results somehow. We prefer to do it out of fear. Why? Because when you're happy, your ego disappears. You're nobody anymore. You see, when you're well and happy and people ask you, how are you? And you say, I'm well, conversation finished. You're not interesting. You're not interesting. Whereas when you have a lot of problems, you know, but when people say, I am well, just stay another 10 minutes with them and start to talk about your problems that you're having. What happens very quickly from the person that said, I am well? Question. Don't nod. I can't read. I can't read your mind. Huh?
He tells his problems.
They come out with their problems, isn't it?
They come out with me too.
Yeah, with me too, exactly. Because they feel a bit, you know, oh, she doesn't see me because I'm not suffering, because I'm well. Now she becomes more important. And the ego doesn't like that. So we play all these games. So basically, mindfulness and awareness meditation, that's for that. Yeah? That is for that. To see, to train the mind to be present. You know, every second of the day, it's a bit exaggerated, I think, because we're not so well trained. But in order to see from time to time, maybe once an hour, or when it's too late, when it's already strong, because then you can't dissolve it. Yeah, but to really catch it at the beginning when you have this arrogant thought or this self-destroying thought, or whatever, and you just go rubbish. It's just totally exaggerated again. Yeah. So this is how we start, kind of, to really get to know ourselves. And I think especially for Westerners to concentrate on the positive things we do, because otherwise we don't even want to start looking at all the negative things. Yeah? So we need to build up that side that we're good people, we have a lot of good qualities, we already did a lot of good things, and to stop concentrating on just a few negative things we did. Just a suggestion. And not to take ourselves so bloody seriously. Sorry for the word, but I need to use it. You know, I feel like people are so serious. It's like so fascinated with themselves, and then of course you become very serious, you know. I cannot, I can, what shall I do? It's like, yeah. So Dharma practice is difficult. Okay, it needs time, needs study, needs contemplating it. But when there's no joy, then it's like, you know, what's the point? Then you might as well stay the way you are. Maybe I shouldn't say these things, because whatever you do with the four opponent powers, even if you do it without joy, then it still has some kind of positive potential. Okay? So the first thing is to really know, why am I doing this? It's the motivation. So many people, especially if it's, you know, mindfulness courses, what did I read the other day also? What again, mindfulness was good for? Can't remember. Well, I found out something new where people have problems with that. Mindfulness is also mindfulness against painkillers and things like that. Yeah, that if you take a lot of painkillers, your body gets used to it and you become more and more sensitive to pain. So when you do mindfulness, and it's called ROME, R-O-M-E, something, I don't know what, you know, kind of if you do mindfulness meditation, then this impulse reaching out for the painkiller is the, so somebody else will do courses on R-O-M-E, which they call ROME, will maybe probably earn a lot of money with it, which is not bad. okay, because people need to survive, but mindfulness is used in many, many terms these days, and you know, one forgets where it came from. Because yes, of course, it's for you then to have less pain, but then it's especially, I want to have less pain because when I have pain, I'm in a bad mood. When I'm in a bad mood, I'm not good for others, I'm harming them. So that we widen that kind of, so that we widen the motivation a little bit, yeah. And not to feel totally destroyed when you see how selfish, when we see how selfish we are. To understand this is, because where is it coming from? It's coming from a wrong view, that there is a separate I and a separate self. So I'll just, you know, go briefly through the three principal aspects of the path. But first I read something from Einstein, which is not Buddhist, he is not a Buddhist, which kind of says exactly what is happening, but from a scientific point of view, yeah. He really, I think there's a few philosophers, there's not a few, many philosophers, many scientists, many psychologists who really understand their mind, their own mind, not just the mind of the people they're treating. Because I think if you don't understand your own mind, you cannot understand the mind of somebody else. Yeah. Einstein? Alfred? Einstein? Albert, sorry, not Alfred. Albert Einstein. So a human being, you can find it in the internet, you don't need to write with me. You put Einstein, a human being, and the quote comes. Sometimes it's a bit longer than this one. This one is, I think, the shortest one. A human being is part of the whole, called by us the universe. A part limited in space and time. So the key word here is a part. We're not independent. We are a part, but we feel as individual. Yeah? He experiences himself, his thoughts and his feelings as something separated from the rest, a kind of optical delusion of his consciousness. This delusion is a kind of prison for us, restricting us to our personal desires and to affection for a few persons nearest to us. Our task must be to free ourselves from this prison by widening the circle of compassion to embrace all living creatures and the whole of nature in its beauty. Some quotes continue by saying, even though it is not possible to do that, I mean, opening up ourselves is possible, but it's not possible for an individual to embrace the whole, because he's not a Buddhist. As a Buddhist, this is possible. Not maybe in this lifetime, but at one point. So it says, even though this is not possible to do, to embrace the whole of nature with all the beings, but just by trying to do it, or just by practicing to do it, you gain a lot of mental stability. Because when we look, you know, the mental stability, when you think from this morning, from waking up, until just now sitting here, how many things have you consumed, or in how many ways have you benefited from the effort of other beings? Nothing?
No, I mean everything.
Everything. And how much have you done to benefit others? The ones who put out the seats, made the altar, you can say, okay, something. The ones who drove people here, yeah, okay, something. You know, the ones who just got up, had breakfast and drove here, very little. So then, you know, the mental stability, or like we're so attached to, it's not just, isn't it? We're so attached to, we immediately when something is injustice, we start screaming, yeah? Unless the injustice is in our favor, then we're sad about it. Oh, it would be nice if it would be different, but we're not screaming. We don't become activists when the injustice is in our favor. I mean, again, let's be honest, yeah? So this is what the Dharma practice is all about. You start to see how things are, and you're not kind of going, oh, I'm so bad. You said, okay, in what way can I change it, yeah? So then, practicing in order to be of more benefit to others makes you practice more meaningful also, not just for your own happiness. Yeah? And then practicing not just to have a happy life, which is a side effect of the practice. You will be happier. You will be more relaxed. If you're not making this the purpose of your practice. If you make it the purpose of your practice, your focus is too small. And then again, you have this kind of, you become very sensitive. You see, or fragile. How you say? Somebody said sensitive and fragile is not the same thing. For me, the same thing. You know, sensitive is like somebody touches you, they go like, ah! That's being sensitive. Somebody said sensitive is when you are sensitive towards the feeling of others. Oh, okay. The other one is fragile, whatever, you know. So the smaller our focus on how many beings there should be happy, the more sensitive we become, sensible, yeah? The more fragile we become, the more irritated we become, because the space is so small, it's just one. So it's also difficult for the things we want to land on this little space here. So if we have more people, you know, or even more people like that, and then whatever good things come and you rejoice when other people also have good things, the space where the good things fall is much bigger. If we have a big ego and we think, you know, we have this Mughelli or whatever it's called in Hebrew, Mughelli, yeah. If we have this Mughelli attitude, you know, the target for arrows to hit you and to be irritated is huge. If you have gratitude, then, you know, whatever you get, you're very happy. Whatever you don't get, it's okay. Yeah, you become a very, very unhappy person with this Mughelli kind of attitude. But we have it. Yeah, we do have it. They owe it to me. Yeah. So like this. So this is why I wanted to read that. So also Buddhism. Why we do all these numerous practices in numerous different ways with numerous different kind of cultural hang-ups on it is because we want to understand that what we think is true is not true. That this whole thing that we struggle so much to be happy totally falls apart. That is the purpose. Yeah. So in earlier Buddhism, they thought, well then, okay, I've understood there's no more me and others. There's no more, you know, the mind and what is experienced by the mind becomes one. So there's no more dualism. Yeah. The I becomes the mind, the bliss, the emptiness, the everything. Yeah. So then it was thought that you disappear. But then when the Buddha was teaching, like, so first he taught a little bit like this, you know. You end your suffering, that's it, nirvana, eternal peace, you disappear, goodbye. Yeah. Somebody would ask what is nirvana, he would say that is beyond concepts. Okay? So then also many people thought at that time that when you become a Buddha, you disappear, that's it. Yeah. Then in the second turning of the wheel, he became more subtle and he was teaching on emptiness. Yeah, like Prajnaparamita. That actually there is no real suffering, there is no real causes, there is no real cessation, and there's no real path. So there's a contradiction there. First he says true suffering, true causes, true cessation, true path. And then he says none of this. Also he says in the Heart Sutra, there is no attainment and no non-attainment. So then we need to know, what does that mean? Is the first one true or is the second one true? Yeah. So actually both are not true. Yeah. Because also emptiness is empty of inherent existence, and that's the only thing that is true is emptiness. It's like ultimate truth is where that, you know, the kind of the ground why things can exist, and that ground is empty, because if that ground would have something, then it could not transform into something else. If that ground, which is emptiness, but the emptiness is not the cause, okay? So that's what many people make the mistake. They think, okay, emptiness is the cause. No, emptiness is not the cause. Emptiness is just the nature, the ultimate nature of how things exist, as being empty. And then our mind comes and starts to add, according to what we do, or what we did, according to our attitudes, according to our opinions, and all this. You know, like you said, Mor came and she said her father-in-law has just died. May I use this example? And that he was a judge and he did a lot of good things because he permitted Palestinians to come to court, to be under the same legal system, something like this, yeah? So I think for everybody here, we see this as a very good thing. I guarantee you, quite a few people in this country don't see this as a good thing. So is it good or is it bad? But from its own side, truly, now truly, the truth, is it good or is it truly good or is it truly bad? Because you gave me a perfect example. It's neither, okay? It depends from where you look at. So we live in this what is called relative level, where things do exist, but not the way that they appear. And the more confused your mind is, the more self-absorbed your mind is, the more narrow your mind is and filled with negative emotions, the more horrible the world looks. Okay? So this is why we're doing these practices. This is why we're doing these practices in order to purify that. But before we go on to these practices, we need to know where's the mistake that we're making. Okay? So I'm just reading these 3 principal aspects of the path, so that I think you're the only one, I don't know your face. But I've seen you before, no? Have you, not here, but other places? You have heard about Buddhism? Huh? Ah, okay, so then it's fine. So I don't need to give too many explanations, although it's really good for all of us to hear this again and again and again and again. Why am I doing these practices? Why I'm doing anything in my life? Because our automatic pilot is for happiness now. And we really need to change that automatic pilot. Yeah, if you want to call it a Buddhist practice, especially a Mahayana Buddhist practice. Yeah. Okay. So this is from Lama Tsongkhapa. I think we used it. You made it, I think, and the Dharma friend, the Shantideva, when I taught the module on presenting the path. Oh, long ago, eh? The essential meaning of the Victorious One's teachings, the past praised by all the holy victors and their children, the gateway of the fortunate ones desiring liberation, this I shall try to explain as much as I can. Those who are not attached to the pleasures of circling in samsara, who strive to make freedom and endowments meaningful, who entrust themselves to the path pleasing the Victorious Ones, you fortunate ones, listen with a calm mind. So he says, you know, this path is for people who are not attached to cyclic existence. So then again, we need to know what is cyclic existence. There we need to know the disadvantage of cyclic existence. Without the complete intention, definitely to be free from circling, there is no way to pacify attachment, seeking pleasurable effects in the ocean of circling. Also, by craving for cyclic existence, embodied beings are continuously bound. Therefore, at the very beginning, seek renunciation. Okay? So the life we have at the moment is very good. Yeah? We have, as he says, we have the freedoms and endowments, but what do we use it for? Most of us who are still younger, we need to use it in order to make money, so that we can survive in this very expensive world. Yeah? And then when it comes down to doing Dharma practice, we're exhausted, we're tired, it's too much, it's too heavy, it's like, you know. Yeah, I understand, because your life is very full. Yeah. But then we can start looking, okay, I need to work, I need to do this in order to be able to survive financially. But I know people who even say, I wouldn't have to work anymore, but I don't know what to do when I don't work anymore. It's like, and they're Dharma practitioners, so it's like, yeah. So that's what I mean, you know. But then the free time that we have, you know, we can check how do we use that free time. So like that. So we can see that our life is very wonderful and is very good, because we do have these opportunities to practice, So we need to have a certain urgency, thinking about impermanence and death, so that we do use the time properly. I tell you, I'm lazy like hell. So I'm very happy that I need to do these things, what I'm doing, because otherwise I wouldn't do them. Yeah, so try, if you feel that you're too lazy to meditate, like when nothing is happening, create a group and be the leader of that group. Even if it's just 2-3 people, you know, because that makes you practice. Because you have it in your house, you are responsible, so you don't have a choice to say, oh, I'm not going, yeah? And then you get into the habit of doing it, and then it becomes much more simple, for example. So freedom and endowments are difficult to find, and life has no time to spare. By gaining familiarity with this, attraction to the appearances of this life is reversed. So we're practicing for next life. You see? Even with the motivation to practice for next life, your life now will become happier because you're not so disturbed anymore when things don't go the way you want them to go. Yeah, but if you practice for this life and then things don't go the way you want them to go, you get upset. Yeah. If you go like, well, the main thing is I'm not creating negative karma here, outside conditions, yeah, not so good at the moment, but everything is impermanent, they will change, like this. Yeah. So we start to not to be so obsessed. You know, I mean, if people only believe in one life, I'm not surprised they're totally stressed, wanting to do everything only good and only pleasant and only this and only that. And then they call it a fulfilled life because they only believe in one lifetime. Yeah. So the other day we were talking also about, at the time, it was in the death weekend. So, you know, it would be wonderful if we can go from this planet or leave this body by going, you know, with a lot of gratitude and say, well, I had a wonderful life. But then somebody asked me, what if you had a hard life? Well, who says a hard life cannot be wonderful? You know how many rich people I know who have everything and who have a very easy life and who need a lot of medicine in order to be able to function? Because they're totally depressed? Quite a lot of them. Because I know many people, okay? Because I go to many countries, I meet a lot of people because of what I'm doing. And I know it because they come and complain to me, they tell me. Pleasure, it gets very boring. It gets very, very boring with time. But as long as you don't have just pleasure, you see? You keep going in that direction and you think, oh, if I had more of this and more of this and more of this, then I would be really happy. So you never can never actually go to the extreme of having everything, and then you don't notice that it doesn't work. Yeah. Or people who have already, you know, enough money for 10 lifetimes, they keep earning, you know, they keep going on earning more because they lost the purpose. Because all of a sudden the purpose of having financial security in order to be happy changed into having a lot of money. And then of course you can't stop because money you can always use, you know. Money you can always use. Like when I give money to some people, sometimes people come and say, yeah, but they don't need it. I say, well, come on, everybody needs money. What are you talking about? Yeah, yeah, but they have enough. No, nobody has a feeling of having really enough money. Otherwise, we wouldn't have these super rich people, yeah? If it would come. You know, if we would be clever, calculating, okay, this, I need this, okay, now I can stop kind of doing these kind of things. So this is when you are attached to this life. So this is what I'm saying. If you only believe in one lifetime, you could become totally stressed. It has to be good. It has to be the way I want it to be. And then we start fighting for it, or we start to get depressed or angry if it is not the way I want it to be. In Buddhist terms, a good life is when you have developed love, compassion, and wisdom. And this you can in every situation. Some situations are easier, some situations are more difficult. A very difficult situation when to develop love, compassion, and wisdom is when your life is too good. You want to enjoy. You don't want to come sit on a nap because now temperature is cooling down a bit, so you want to go to the beach. It's not so hot anymore because it's a nice day. Yeah? You see what I mean? And especially if we still have this feeling of pleasure is happiness. This is also another automatic pilot, is one of our misconceptions. Pleasant things are happiness. Pleasant things are pleasant, but they lead to suffering if we get attached to them. If we don't change the view of, it is just pleasure, and then make the pleasure bigger by thinking, oh, somebody manufactured it, somebody made it. So many people were involved so that I can enjoy it now. Thank you very much. May you be happy, may you be well. Then it becomes then your pleasure becomes meaningful. Otherwise, it's totally meaningless. And again in the car, we were talking about planet Earth, Mother Earth, that is being destroyed. Why? Because of our possibility to make more and more and more and more pleasures, to be more and more and more comfortable. Well, if being comfortable would make us happy, okay, then let's destroy the planet. But it's not even true. It's not even true. You're happy about the air condition when you come from the heat. How many times during the day while it's working you go like, I'm so happy there's air condition. It's only when you feel the suffering of change, then it becomes normal. And then you go out and then you suffer. Yeah? Instead of thinking, what does it do to the climate, this air condition here? Yeah? It blows out hot air, doesn't it? Needs to transform the air somehow. So, then you make your conclusion. Do I need it? Do I want it? Yes, no. Yeah? But we become dependent on these things. Totally dependent. Yeah? And then we can't be without it anymore. Because also, I see it's going, a window is open. 2 windows are open. Door is open. Do we need to cool down the whole of Israel, or what do we need to do here with the air conditioner? Because it's going, isn't it? It's on. Yeah, it's on. 2 windows are open.
Yeah, I asked if they want to close the windows, and they said no, so they're open.
Okay.
To get some fresh air. Cool air and fresh air.
Yeah. And by doing that, we destroy the planet, and then we complain. Because if this is open and warmth comes in, this has to work more. I mean, you're a country of people with air conditioning. You don't know how they work?
We do. We just don't really think deep enough.
Okay. So this is being interested in the happiness of this life. This is being interested, having to be comfortable. Then I can practice. This is another very big obstacle for Dharma practice. Like, I have to be comfortable in order to practice. And then we kind of prepare and we prepare and we prepare, and then we never do anything. Yeah. So again, I'm sorry, I shouldn't talk like this. I should tell you, you're wonderful, you're beautiful, you're doing a good thing, la la la, But you see, I spent 20 years with Tibetans, and so I'm used to the method of looking at the negative things, and I see that it doesn't destroy them, so why should it destroy me? And so it's okay. Yeah, it's like, going to the doctor and first expecting the doctor to tell you what works well in your body and then tell you what is wrong with you. You're not expecting that from the doctor because you pay. So you will kind of, don't waste my time, tell me what's wrong with me. Yeah? So like that. Okay. By thinking over and over again, the actions and their effects are unbetraying, and repeatedly contemplating the miseries of cyclic existence, attraction to the appearance of future lives is reversed. Okay, so we practice for next life because we think about impermanence and death. So we call what is called, we generate renunciation. So the next verse is to show us when we have developed renunciation. Okay? When by having trained in that way, there is no arising, even for a second, of attraction to the perfections of cyclic existence. So I would say, either we close the windows or we shut this one down.
I agree.
Okay, so what do you want to do?
Close the windows.
Okay, close the windows, please.
You for stopping the air conditioning?
Yeah, me also. I mean, it's cool. It's not hot outside.
Let's give it a try.
No, not both. No pose. Try it out. Because opening the windows is less harmful for Mother Earth than this one things up there, okay? So then again, if we have a choice, you know, because I'm really starting to be concerned, because we talked about this in the car. I said, for a spiritual practitioner, I mean, the concern for the environment, the actions, you know, they should transform into actions and not just kind of complaining about it. Yeah?
Who's complaining?
Huh?
I'm saying, who's complaining?
I do not know. I'm talking about what we do, you know. Then, so if you have a choice between window and this, of course you choose the window, and not what is more comfortable, but what is less harmful for the environment, isn't it? And then when you get really too hot, then we need to do it. Then we need to turn it on again, but then we close the windows. So I think this is putting your spiritual practice a little bit into your daily life. Also, you know, when you buy things, that you try to buy local, and you try to not to use too many plastic bags, or you reuse them, or your plastic containers if you buy ready-made food or whatever. Yeah, so I'm sure many of you do it already. Yeah, so that's already a good thing. We try to do the little things that we can do. Yeah. So then, because as I said, I said I'm going for a walk. Then one of my habits, I go for a walk. I see a kind of a big container where you can put plastic bottles. Of course, if there's nowhere where I can put them, I also don't pick them up. But if I see there is one, I pick them up and put them there. I mean, it's simple stuff. Because then that plastic doesn't go into the ground. It doesn't make microplastic. At least it goes into the garbage. Yeah. So if everybody would start doing this, then already it would be a little bit better. Yeah. I mean, newly we have the courses in SMM. So there's no plastic on the ground there, except for after when there was a big weekend with many, many people, and especially children, then there's also plastic cups and this and that. But then the staff picks it up, so it doesn't accumulate. So it's worthwhile to pick it up, because it's only here and there a little bit something. Yeah. Okay. So when you're not attracted to the perfection of this life anymore, you have generated what is called renunciation. When it doesn't have to be totally 100% comfortable for you to be able to practice. Okay. Even if renunciation has been developed, if it is not possessed by the mind of enlightenment, it does not become the cause of perfect bliss of unsurpassed enlightenment. Therefore, the wise generate the supreme mind of enlightenment, meaning not just my own self-liberation, but also in order to come back again and again and again and again to this imperfect world where people have a lot of conflict, in order to be able to lead others out of that, what we call samsara, okay? To become a Buddha. That would mean full enlightenment. That you have the universal compassion, universal skills, universal wisdom, and skillful means also to be able to help others, to lead them, to guide them, if they want to be guided. Yeah. And so how to generate that mind that is open towards all beings, which is called bodhicitta, swept away by the current of the four powerful rivers, tied by the tight bonds of karma, so hard to undo, caught in the iron net of self-grasping, completely enveloped by the total darkness of ignorance, endlessly reborn in cyclic existence, ceaselessly tormented by the three sufferings, thinking that all mothers are in such a condition, generate the supreme mind of enlightenment. So do you have somebody that you like very much? That when the person says, "Oh, today I'm really well," you're happy? Is there somebody in your life like that? Somebody that you owe them maybe something, like your parents? Not so much, okay. Your grandparents?
That are still alive, you mean? Or
Even when they're dead, it's fine. Just thinking about them opens up your heart, and you wish them well. You wish them well spontaneously, because you see, you understand their kindness to you. Not children, because children, there is love of a parent, so that's not. You know. So when we develop bodhicitta, we should see all beings who have been kind to us. When then you act as bodhisattva, then all beings become your children. Not your parents, but your children. So in order to develop first that attitude and then wanting to repay their kindness, You see them as somebody that you have been depending on. Maybe for your mental health as a child, when the parents were not really, you know, doing what they were supposed to do. Was there somebody who was looking after you that you felt safe, as they call a safe attachment? This is what children need, yeah? Or safe attachment, or when you think about your parents, of course, that's the best. Where you felt protected. Do you have somebody like this? Yeah. That you can think about, yeah? So think about this person being swept away in a very powerful river, like they can't swim. They fell into a river. What would you do? Jump in. Huh? Jump in and try to get them out. But you need to be a good swimmer. If you're not a good swimmer, it's not working. So that's just one. But the wish for them to be out of this river. So here's the 4 great rivers, which is birth, sickness, old age, and death. Everybody has to undergo that. Yeah? Your enemies, the people that you love, everybody else. Tied by the tight bonds of karma. So not only they've fallen into that river, they're also tied by karma. The ropes of karma, so hard to undo, which we're going to do soon when we start to do purification practice. Yeah. So you see they're in that river, they're bound by this rope, caught in the iron net of self-grasping. Even worse, they're inside an iron cage of self-grasping in the middle of the night, completely enveloped by the total darkness of ignorance. The ignorance not knowing of the consequences of our actions, the ignorance of not knowing the real, the mode of existence of me and others. So how would you feel for such a person?
Compassion.
And what would that compassion do?
Want to save him.
What would you do? In Switzerland, you call 144. I don't know here. Here is the number for the fire people. Fire, you know, people who have means to pull somebody out of that river. I don't. How can I pull somebody out of the river who is, you know, tied themselves in a cage? I can't swim. Yeah, so I need to call somebody else. So compassion is good, is not enough. I need to have the skills. I need to become 144. I don't know what's the number here? 101. Huh? 101. Okay. Yeah. So this is this now. I need to be out of that river. I need to untie my tight bonds of karma. I need to myself get out of that cage of self-grasping, because otherwise, how can I get my mom out of there? So both of us are in that river. So how can you help the other person? Of course you have compassion, but you're powerless. So this is why you want to purify negative karma. This is why you continue with your study. Yeah? So it's a very powerful picture.
Metaphor.
Huh?
That was a very good metaphor.
It's a very, very powerful picture. So then, you know, read that term from time to time and think, oh, poor mother, she's in that river. It's got, I'm also there. I'm also swept along by, I'm also not liberated. I also have self-cherishing. I'm also under the control of my negative emotions, which create karma. So, but I have compassion for this person because I want to repay the kindness. Yeah? So how can I do? There's no 144 in that situation here. The Buddha is not 144 or 101. The Buddha is the training course 101, that we can become the 101 people who have the skills and the materials to free somebody like this. Yeah? In short, if like the mother whose cherished son has fallen into a pit of fire and who experiences even 1 second of his suffering as an unbearable eternity, your reflection on the suffering of all mother sentient beings has made it impossible for you to bear their suffering for even 1 second, and the wish seeking enlightenment for their sake arises without effort, then you have realized the supreme precious mind of enlightenment. You see, now it changed. It says the compassion has to be as strong as a mother's for her son. Not anymore for the child for her mother, because not strong enough. Because the compassion of a parent to their children is stronger than the compassion of the children to their parents. We can see it. Because when parents need their, make pee-pee caca in their pants, when parents are so confused they don't know what's going on, the children have very little compassion and patience to play with them games that would make them happy and to answer their repeated questions. The parents, for their children make pee-pee caca in their pants, no problem, They ask the same question again and again and again. You answer. You sit down with them and play these games that make them happy that you alone you wouldn't play. Why? Because you love them.
But usually you say that you own, that all sentient beings are your mothers.
Yeah,
Mother sentient beings.
to generate that compassion first. But then your action is stronger when you think of them as your children.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. Because that's how we work, that's how we are. Yeah. Like a non-active compassion comes up when we see the kindness. Yeah, so that needs to be there first. When it transforms into action, then the urgency of wanting to do something should be like a mother whose son has fallen into the fire. She jumps after him. Yeah. Or has the skills of the people of 101. That's much better than without any skills to jump into fire. That doesn't help anybody. Yeah. So kind of this picture, the mother would jump into the fire, is you bear the hardships of practicing Dharma happily with an open mind. Yeah. So okay, so that's generating bodhicitta, and now the right view. So these are the first attitude is. First aspect is renunciation, not just for this life, but still for me. It's good to do things for you, but not just for this life. I want to get out of this, being under the control of negative emotions and karma. Yeah? So that's one thing. That's the first attitude. It's like, I want to get out of here. It's called definite emergence. Then the next one is, but not just for myself, because the same way as I'm in that river that is sweeping me along, everybody else is, and everybody has been kind to me at one point. Not even just as a mother, also as a teacher, or somebody who makes you food, somebody who grows you food, All these people, like we suffer from the heat. We eat vegetables, right? Yeah? They don't grow in air-conditioned rooms. And it's not enough just to plant them and then the cucumbers kind of come flying into the shop, in the air-conditioned shop where we buy them. People work there in the heat. So instead of being sad about this, and instead of be feeling guilty, because that's the usual reaction to these when I say these things, think, great, the day today is for the people who grow my vegetables. May I be the first one who liberates them brings them out of samsara. Yeah? And not just the ones from this life, but all the vegetable growers from all my past bodies that I had. And then pretty much it becomes everybody again. Because we've all been vegetable growers and we've all had contact with each other and so on. Yeah? So then bodhicitta is there. But again, it's not enough. Without the wisdom realizing ultimate reality, even though you have generated renunciation and the mind of enlightenment is bodhicitta, right? You cannot cut the root cause of circling. Therefore, attempt the method to realize dependent arising. So that has to go with it. Even though there is suffering, even though there is karma, but from its own side, totally empty of inherent existence. One who sees the cause and effect of all phenomena of both cyclic existence and the state beyond sorrow as forever unbetraying, and for whom any object trusted in by the grasping mind has completely disappeared, has at that time entered the path pleasing the Buddhas. Yeah? To see even though things appear, but they don't exist the way they appear. They're empty from their own side. If I would be a bee, this would be nourishment. This would be food. If I would be allergic to these flowers, it would be a problem. These flowers are not mine. They're very nice. I see them. I enjoy them. No attachment, no aversion. Whoever takes them home at the end, wonderful. And then we're afraid when we hear these things that life will become very boring, isn't it? That we're not interested in things anymore. Einat is going like this. Life is not becoming boring. Then it becomes interesting, because then we will have time to do the meaningful things. Yeah? Then we will have time to do the meaningful things. In what way can I liberate myself and then liberate others? So flowers, offering for the Buddha, perfect, because it gives a lot of, it brings a lot of merit. And what is offering flowers? A beautiful body also. The consequence of offering flowers, you put it in front of my table, it doesn't make much merit, I have to say. So much better you put them over there. If you do it because of decoration, no merit. No merit. Even though it looks nice. Yeah? Because then you do it for yourself, it looks nice. And most of the things we do is with that kind of attitude. Looks nice, feels good, you know, tastes good, nice sound, entertaining, good movie, oh no no, da da da, yeah. Yo. One who sees the cause and effect of all phenomena, of both cyclic existence and the state beyond sorrow as forever unbetraying, and for whom any object trusted in by the grasping mind has completely disappeared, has at that time entered the path pleasing the Buddhas. There is no flower there, you know, but the mind is grasping at the real flower. And if you decided that you will take this flower home in the evening, and I walk out of here with this flower, and you have, not me, maybe somebody else, yeah, maybe me you would allow, yeah, but somebody else would walk out with this flower out of here, and you decided it's my flower, and already have the spot in your garden, you will get angry, and the whole purification is for nothing. Yeah? So like that. By stop grasping at real existence. Yeah? And it can, you know, neighbor wars can start because of plants that grow into other people's gardens, or somebody destroys something, or I don't know. It's just flowers. Not even existing from their own side. But we put much more into what it is. Yeah? And I'm really happy that you actually always bring like plants like this, so at least they can survive a little bit longer, maybe over 2 seasons, and not these cut flowers that are full of chemicals, cost a lot of money, sometimes come from very far away, and produce a lot of CO2 emissions. Yeah. Growing flowers? Have you ever seen the hot houses where they grow the flowers? You think they grow in the wild and people go and cut them? The ones that they sell, they have to grow them, how to say, you know, how to say, when in big, you know, in big quantities. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to pay for them. They would be too expensive. So it's full of chemicals and all this. We found out, because when we had the relic tour at one point, and so we put in the bowls, because there's in the water, we put in, where's the flower, a real flower, like here, right? And then somebody complained. So in the evening we gave them the water because it was with the relics. So people, especially in Asia, they want to take it home. So they complained that they felt really, really bad in the evening. And so we started to kind of look and ask the people that we bought the flowers from, what is on the flowers? They said, yeah, of course, don't drink the water. There's poison in the flowers in order to keep them fresh and to make them grow and keep free of bugs and all this. Yeah. So at least like this, it's nice. What would you do if I would say use artificial flowers? In Bern, most of the flowers we have are artificial flowers. You go to India, all the flowers on the altar are artificial. They keep.
But if you think it doesn't look good, then it's not something you want to offer.
But then you have to really examine that mind who says it doesn't look good. Because as Moore says, you can find really beautiful artificial flowers, and people go, they don't see the difference. In their mind, it's real flower. Yeah, then they go, oh, wow, but still then you say, yeah, they're artificial. They don't believe it. They go and touch, and then the magic is gone. Yes. You see this whole thing about, is magic. Magic meaning, you know what stands behind it, it's fake. The whole thing, beauty is out there, is all fake. And the moment you see it, it falls apart. So yes, it's true. Your life will become less kind of wow, but it will become more stable and you will not go up and down anymore. And then you'll have this open, spacious happiness, the joy, you know, that doesn't need outside conditions, which comes also from meditation and these kind of things. And then you can use this body in a very meaningful way again, yeah? So yeah, in Bern we have, or if there is, we have in the summer, there's a flower field, which, you know, which is done by a nursery also, but you can go, and I know they don't use fertilizers, whatever, half of the flowers are not good. Then I go and with the bicycle and I cut them and I pay and I bring them to the altar. Yeah, but otherwise when they come from Kenya or I don't know where, you know, in the middle of the winter, I mean, yeah, but then again you go, okay, you're destroying the earning money of the people in Kenya. Yes, I do also. So whatever we do is wrong anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah, whatever we do.
Yeah, the chocolate usually comes from
Yeah.
slavery.
Yeah, again, you know, this is what I mean. So people see the chocolate, they go, oh, whoa, how can you offer chocolate? Yeah, this is what the chocolate that I brought from Belgium was slave-free chocolate, by the way. Yeah, there is. It already starts to exist. People who pay the workers in Africa the right wage. Yeah, this one guy is a Dutch guy. He's called Tommy something. And so, yeah. So then, yeah, it's more expensive than other chocolate, but not that much more that we would suffer. But you'll get one from Denmark, so it's not slave-free, I think, because the one who is organizing, the managers, they always get kind of chocolate. But I run out of it, I don't have any more, the slave-free one. Okay. If the appearance of dependent relation, which is unbetraying, is accepted separately from emptiness, as long as they are seen as separate, then one still has not realized the Buddha's intent. Relative level and ultimate level, like appearance and emptiness, they're one. They're not separate. They're not the same, but they're one entity. As long as you see them as separate, you still haven't understood. You need to study more. You will have perfect occasion. Geshe-ma Kelsang Wangmo is coming soon, so she will teach on Nagarjuna's text called the Mula Madhyamika Karita or something like that. I don't know. I don't even know how to say the word. It's called, I think, anyway, it's all on emptiness, so, and she's a perfect teacher to do that. So, yeah, we need to go there also. Not just. We need to create the positive potential to be able to understand it. So we need to balance. We need to do both. Yeah. If these two realizations are happening simultaneously without alternation, and from merely seeing dependent relation as completely unbetraying, the definite ascertainment comes that completely destroys the way all objects are apprehended as truly existent. At that time, the analysis of the ultimate view is complete. Yeah? Furthermore, appearance eliminates the extreme of existence, so of real existence, because it just appears, so it cannot exist really from its own side. And emptiness eliminates the extreme of non-existence. Okay? Because they're empty, something needs to be there that is empty. So you can also not say that they're non-existent. Yeah? Usually it's the other way around. They say kind of dependent existence kind of affirms that they don't truly exist. And emptiness affirms that it says that they're not existing from the own side. Like dependent arising confirms that they are existing as appearance, and emptiness confirms their existence but not truly existent. So like this, here's the other way around. So you can use it in both ways. Yeah, they exist. Why? Because they're empty. If they, if they wouldn't be empty, then nothing. There would be a base that is empty. Yeah. So because of emptiness, something is there, which is the base. They're dependent arising, so they're not existing truly from their own side. They're also not non-existent. In this way, you realize exactly the vital points of the three principal aspects of the path. Resort to seeking solitude, generate the power of effort, and quickly accomplish your final goal, my child. So this is the This is the very short text of the Lamrim by Lama Tsongkhapa, which says what, for example, first point, what is renunciation? How do you develop it? When have you developed it? Then bodhicitta, what is bodhicitta? How to develop it? The criteria when you have developed it. Emptiness, what is emptiness? How to develop the understanding of emptiness when it has been understood. And then you do tantric practices.
I have a question.
Yeah, I just, go ahead.
Okay. On the small scope,
Yeah.
you said that it's better to think about the positive outcomes of the practice.
For us.
Yes, for us, for Westerners. So when you read the small scope on the Sadhana, it says that in order to avoid the hell rims, you have to be careful of your karmic actions.
Yeah.
So it's kind of it feels like
A fear.
yeah.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. Stop thinking like
Yeah,
that.
it's not suitable for Westerners or
I think it depends on the Westerner. This is what makes Buddhism complicated on one hand, but really good on the other hand. There's nothing that is inherently good and there's nothing that is inherently bad. But I've seen Westerners, they don't work well with fear. Because then they get so afraid that they're totally blocked. I remember somebody, I was talking about karma, and she totally freaked out. I mean, she totally freaked out. So some people work well with fear, like for example me, because when I heard the teachings on karma, first time in my life in Kopan Monastery, and at the same time the results of your negative actions, and then it was evening, and then I tried to sleep. I couldn't sleep because I thought, I went like, I did all these actions. I will for sure end up in hell, and I was afraid. So the whole night I couldn't sleep, and then the next morning I went to see somebody who didn't really understand quite well the whole thing. And so I said, she says, yeah, and both of us, we're going to go to hell, and blah, 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 and we're going to rot there, and this and that. And then the next teaching was on purification, okay? At the beginning of the retreat, I saw, at that time it was still flyers, like kind of, photocopied, colored out by hand, and then like this, I saw a flyer, 3 months Vajrasattva retreat. So I thought, well, somebody must be really crazy to go 3 months into retreat. Already 1 month is really long, because I was longing to go out and to go trekking and, have fun again. That was my first course. This is the attitude I had. I did it out of curiosity, kind of. But because that sleepless night, I'm being convinced that it's going to be like this, I signed up for the 3 months Vajrasattva retreat.
after 1 course. Wow.
Huh?
After 1 course.
After the 1 month course, yeah. Because it was the 1 month course in Kopan.
Yeah, usually it takes time to accept karma.
Yeah, but it's like I had totally sleepless night. I totally believed in it, You know what I mean? And I still do, by the way. So this is why I'm doing purification practices. So, okay, so yeah, use whatever is helpful. And this is the liberty that Buddha Dharma gives you. These are methods, these are medicines. It can become poison or it can be medicine. So you need to see what works for you. So then the lamas, or like the Buddha, they teach in a very general way. And if it doesn't help you practice to really advance on the path, to become more courageous, more patient, less self-absorbed and all this, then that seems to be a good method. Is it something that makes you more afraid and more concentrated on yourself and more not advancing and more neurotic, then that's not the right way. So then go and talk to somebody that maybe you're using the wrong methods. Yeah. Like if you have depression and you don't know really how to deal with it, then don't think about all your negative sides that you have. This is totally counterproductive. But this is what the mind is doing automatically, isn't it? It's going automatically that way. And if somebody comes and says, hey, come on, I mean, don't you think you're exaggerating a bit? You go like, no, everything is bad. You don't want to hear it, you know? Somebody comes and tells you all the good things, what you have in your life. For you, this person becomes totally heartless, cruel, you don't understand what's going on with me, I don't want to see you again, goodbye. And they want to help you. Because they see it in a different way, because they're not depressed, they see both sides. Yeah. So, you know, as Ringo Tulku said, how many were here for Ringo Tulku's teaching? Yeah. Do you remember when he said, when he asked this German guy, what's the most difficult in Buddha Dharma? Yeah. Yeah, so kind of he asked people, what do you think is the most difficult in Buddha Dharma? So this German guy, he said, that you have to do it alone. And you have to find out what is good for you. Yeah. What is the best thing about the Buddha Dharma? That you have to do it alone. And he said, and if you would like to explain, if you have to explain Buddha Dharma to somebody, how would you explain it? That you have to do it alone. That's the Buddha Dharma. So you get numerous methods. Yeah. Just resisting and not liking it, that's not a sign that it's not for you. That's actually a sign that might be for you. But your ego is not liking it. Yeah. So if you continue to do it for a while, and for a while I'm saying maybe a year, and you feel that nothing transforms, then you can say, maybe this is not for you. Maybe this is not for me. Yeah. And then you go and talk to somebody. But if you have the persistence, you know, again, I'm very fortunate because I'm a nun. So I hated the pujas at the beginning. Yeah, and this was so. But the pujas, but I had to go because I'm a nun. I can't say I'm not going, I don't like these things. By going, I realized that, hey, they have an effect. I don't know why they have an effect, but I realized that they have an effect. So no, I like doing pujas because I see they have an effect. But at the beginning, I didn't give them a chance to have an effect because I had so much resistance. But then because of doing the puja again and again and again and again and again and again, every evening, you know, in certain places, again and again and again and again, the effect from the puja, even you don't do it actively, wears down the resistance because it's the positive potential that is kind of evening it out. So you see, that's the thing. I think that's the problem with doing these practices. You know, we make a break and then we start doing the practice. People think it has to feel good in order for it to work. It doesn't have to feel good. Better is it feels horrible and you still do it. Because then you develop this kind of, it doesn't matter how it feels, I still do it. So when we want this to feel good, we are like people who go to the doctor and say, excuse me, but I want medicine that has no side effects, negative ones, and tastes good. When we understand that we need the medicine, doesn't matter how it tastes, it doesn't matter how it looks. And we're even able to bear the side effects when we know that I need to take this, otherwise I'll die. Yeah? So like that. So this is, so I wanted to start like this before we do the practice. So now it's 12 o'clock, so we make 20 minutes break. Yeah, then we do the sadhana until 1 o'clock, and then this afternoon we do 2 more sadhanas. A bit longer. Here now we make it, I just go, I don't say anything. Yeah, I just go through it. So you get to know the whole sadhana, because otherwise if you start explaining and asking questions without seeing the whole thing, it becomes very long and very confusing. Then in the second session, maybe we do it slowly, and if you have questions, even in the middle of the sadhana, you can ask. And then the third one, again, we just go through it, okay? So don't forget, it's a training. And what I would like to do, I would like for you to learn to do this so that you do this daily. This is what it's for, because daily we create negative karma. So the same as with the plastic, you know, if you leave it for years, then nobody wants to go and clean it up because there's so much. If you do it daily, then slowly, you know, it becomes effective because you start to see the effect. Okay, so but now we have a break, so you're not in silence, you can talk if you want, and temperature is still okay? Can you survive?
Yeah, it's nice actually.
Okay, good.